Echoes of Wisdom's Japanese site has shown off a substantial amount of new information that shows how traditional Zelda elements are being reimagined for this new game. The newest entry into the series looks to be blending the traditional elements of old Zelda game design with the much more open philosophy of the Switch titles. Today we're going to have a look at some of the details that show how Echoes of Wisdom is using the philosophies of 2D and 3D Zelda and combining them. But first, hey, if you like this kind of content and would like to support the channel further, consider becoming a channel member. Channel members will have access to emotes to use during live streams and in the comments, as well as specialized badges to indicate how long you've been a member for. All members will have their names shouted out in every single video, and if you join the Townsend's Tavern Discord, you'll have a specialized role dedicated just for you. Now, let's get back to the video. Recently, new footage was released of the Faron Wetlands, showing off more of the area and some interesting new details. Details that further prove the Zelda team is heavily involving past elements into this game, or at the least, taking inspiration from them. If you take a look at this new footage, we can see a singing frog, which could be a nod at the fabulous 5 froggish tenors from Ocarina of Time. Perhaps we'll see a side quest tied to this frog or a puzzle requiring interaction with him. Music seems to be a common theme in Echoes of Wisdom, which is a huge piece of Zelda DNA that's been missing in recent games. There's screenshots of the Zoras using instruments, with the Sea Zora Queen strumming a harp and the River Zora King playing some sort of horn. Back in the Faron Wetlands, there's also this Deku Scrub with Liberty Spikes, and while it could just be that they're going for a punk aesthetic, I think it's much more likely that this guy hints at some connection to music with the Dekus. With Echoes of Wisdom so closely related to Link's Awakening, there's also the possibility that the musical connections are taken from the instruments of the Sirens. These are the instruments found at the end of each dungeon in Link's Awakening and are required in order to wake the Windfish. Echoes could be leaning in a similar direction and require the player to find or use instruments to complete quests and storylines. Additionally, the soundtrack for Faron Wetlands also seems to harken back to previous Zeldas, with motifs and similar sounds to a few forest themes. The wooden chime sound at the beginning of the Forbidden Woods theme from Wind Waker has a similar marimba vibe. Lorelyn Village's theme from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom has this melody played out on another pitched percussion instrument, the steel pan. Faron Wetlands' theme is very similar to Lorelyn's, both with its chord progression and 16th note rhythm. The bongo-like drum part also sounds like it could have heavily been inspired from the Forest Haven theme from Wind Waker. And a much more obvious source, the Deku Palace theme from Majora's Mask. Enemy and creature variety looks to be very diverse in Echoes of Wisdom. Tons of staple Zelda enemies and returning fan favorites show up. A few enemies we've seen in the Downfall timeline make a fitting appearance, but there's also been inclusion of monsters from 3D Zelda games. A big detail revealed from the new game footage is that Deku Babas have more than one design in this game. While the Deku Baba Echo has this smooth yellow appearance, the Faron Wetlands footage shows off a Deku Baba that more closely resembles one from Twilight Princess or Skyward Sword. Maybe once the Deku Baba has been transformed into an Echo, it takes on a new look to differentiate between friendly and hostile. but this could also mean that there's just a wider variety of enemies present in this game. We saw this specifically in Twilight Princess with 2 different versions of Deku Babas. Maybe these Deku Babas require a higher cost to summon as an echo, but provide more damage. Enemies like Wolfos, Redeads, and Walchulas, which are synonymous with 3D Zelda, are roaming the lands of Hyrule too. This shows a deliberate choice to integrate the 2 styles of Zelda into a unified experience, giving players a game that bridges the gap between 2 very different gameplay loops. Echoes of Wisdom is providing a traditional Zelda aesthetic and charm while utilizing the revolutionary game design of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. This game looks like it's trying to strike a balance between those 2 ideas. A more linear by design world overflowing with uniquely Zelda vibes, with game mechanics meant to give the player full freedom of creative problem solving. Where classic Zelda influence will likely provide this game with traditional dungeon exploring, modern Zelda design will dictate how players are able to complete them. It's a brilliant way to please fans of the entire series because it has something to offer for 2D top-down and 3D fans. The premise in theory at least seems like an ideal situation, but we'll have to wait to see if its execution is done properly. But let me know what you think. Are you excited by the blending of Zelda styles and the inclusion of staple Zelda characters? Let me know in the comments below. That of course will bring us to the end of the video. Please like the video if you liked it and subscribe for more Zelda content and content on Echoes of Wisdom. That's going to do it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one.